Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the different sources of the drug information. Information on the drug are constantly changing. Newer drugs are constantly introduced into the market while the information on the already existing drugs are also discovered in terms of the indications, contraindications and adverse effect during their use in the general population. Sources of the drug information is also one of the most commonly asked in second year MBBS practical exam. So let us discuss about the different sources of the drug information in today's video. So sources of the drug informations are the basically two type, commercial sources and non-commercial sources. Commercial sources are usually biased in nature and it can promote irrational prescribing of the drug. Non-commercial sources are not having any type of commercial interest, and so this provides up-to-date, well-documented and scientific information about the drug. So being a doctor, you have to always rely on the non-commercial sources as these are the reliable sources of the drug information. Now, how to choose sources of the drug information? So we have to see the nature of the information, then we have to also see what are the advantages and disadvantages of using a particular source of drug information. Then we have to check whether this source provide unbiased information or not. And lastly, does the source provide current information? Whenever you are referring commercial sources, then you have to always check for the biased information, and if you want to get the accurate information about the drug, then you have to go for the non-commercial sources of the drug information. So to begin with the non-commercial sources of the drug information, these are usually textbooks and reference books. So here in this figure you can see that Essentials of the Medical Pharmacology by K.D. Tripathi. This is the non-commercial source of the drug information. Then Goodman and Gilman, The Pharmacological Basis of the Therapeutics. This is also the non-commercial source of information, and another is Katzen's Basic and Clinical Pharmacology book. So this textbook provides accurate and scientific information about the drug use, and you have to use always the latest edition of the textbooks. Textbooks and reference books are Pharmacology and Pharmacotherapeutics by R.S. Satoskar, and another is Martindale, the Complete Drug Reference. This also provides information about the drug. So always use the textbook and reference book of latest edition to get the updated knowledge about the drug use. Another non-commercial source of drug information is drug compendia. So you can see here the United States of the Pharmacopoeia, which is published in the United States, and another is Physician's Desk Reference. So this type of the non-commercial sources you can use for the updated knowledge about the drug use. Now this provides information about the generic name of the drug, brand names, chemical composition, clinical indications, contraindications, warnings, precautions, drug interactions and doses administrations. All these informations you can get from the drug compendia. Now coming to the another non-commercial source of the drug information, and that is drug formulary. So National Formulary of India, which is published by the Ministry of the Health and Family Welfare Medicine, and it is usually published under the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. So this is again a non-commercial source of drug information, and it is a reliable and authentic source of drug information. Another is Pharmacopoeia, that is Indian Pharmacopoeia, and similarly in the British countries, British Pharmacopoeia. So these are the non-commercial sources of the drug information. Now coming to the commercial sources of the drug information. So this includes MIMS, which means Monthly Index of the Medical Specialties. Then SIMS, that is Current Index of the Medical Specialty, and IDR, that is Indian Drug Review. So these all are the commercial sources of the drug information. So when you are using Sims, memes or IDR, you have to always cross check for the validity of the information about the drug use, and for that you can always refer the non-commercial sources, that is the textbook. Now coming to the national list of the essential drugs and standard treatment guidelines, which are also published by each government. Here you can see the WHO, which has published the World Health Organization model list of the essential medicines for the children, and here you can see that the World Health Organization model list of the essential medicines. So from this source, each country develops their own national list of the essential medicine list and also develops the certain standard treatment guidelines. Now coming to the medical journals, for example, the Lancet, then the Indian Journal of the Pharmacology, British Medical Journal, New England Journal of Medicine. These all are the medical journals which are having independent reviews and research articles, and this provides detailed information on the drug therapy for the diseases. Another non-commercial source of the drug information is drug bulletins. So here you can see the drug and therapeutic bulletin and certain newsletter which is also published by the government, that is non-commercial source of the drug information. Now coming to the web or the internet as a source of the drug information. So all those websites which are having .gov as their web address, these all are sponsored by the government. For example, FDA, www.fda.gov, or Center for the Disease Control and Prevention, that is www.cdc.gov or cdsco.nic.in. Then the National Library of the Medicine, that is www.nlm.nih.gov or www.medlineplus.gov. So all those websites which have .gov in their web address, these all are sponsored by the government, and these are again non-commercial sources of the drug information. So here you can see this is the PubMed Central National Library of the Medicine, the home page, and which provides various information about the drug uses. All those websites which are having .edu, these all sites are by universities or medical schools or healthcare facility sites. Now coming to the .org sites, and these are by non-profit groups, and this is about the research and teaching the public about the specific diseases or conditions. So which provides information about the drug or CDRI India.org or essentialdrugs.org. Then websites of medical scientific journals like British Medical Journal or the Lancet Journal. Then sites with the addresses like .com, these are usually commercial sites of the drug information. Now coming to the other sources of the drug information. So drug information centers, which are usually in the tertiary care teaching hospital, which usually provides information about the drug side effects. Then the verbal information that you can gain from the specialist or the pharmacologist or from the pharmacist. Now coming to the commercial source of the information, which includes the digital app like Medscape, WebMD by the pharmaceutical companies. Then the pharmaceutical industry also sends their medical representative, or they organize certain conferences, symposia, seminars, and advertise in the journals and direct mail. So these all are the commercial sources of drug information. So finally, let us simplify that how the non-commercial sources and the commercial sources differ from each other. So non-commercial sources are reliable and objective information is based on the experimental evidence, while the commercial sources are likely to contain the unverifiable statements. Non-commercial sources are educational rather than persuasive. Commercial sources are persuasive rather than educational. Non-commercial sources have all the adverse effects, precautions, contraindications, everything is highlighted, while commercial sources, it may be deliberately missed to induce the unjustifiable drug use. Non-commercial sources, it is verified and it is monitored by FDA, while the commercial sources, they have the package insert which is monitored by the regulatory agencies, verbal statements by the medical representative, and promotional material is also promoted by the pharmaceutical companies, and these all are difficult to monitor. Non-commercial sources are not accessed by the physicians due to their busy schedule and not available in the rural areas, while commercial sources are easily available at the practitioner's doorsteps. So these are the differences between the non-commercial and commercial sources, and being a doctor or a medical student, you have to always rely more over the non-commercial sources for the drug information. So non-commercial sources in general, if we summarize about the today's class, then these are the standard textbook or the medical journal which provides about the all the details of the drug. So the non-commercial sources provides all the information about the drug, like the indications, mechanism of action, pharmacological action of the drug, contraindications of the drug, drug-drug interactions, that doses administration, and the special situations like the pregnancy, renal failure or liver failure. All these informations are accurate, scientific and authentic in the non-commercial sources, while the commercial sources, which we have already seen, this memes, sims or idr, these are more of a preferred for finding out the particular cost of the drug therapy or the dosage form and the strength of the preparations. So to summarize about the today's class, you have to check for the commercial source only these three information: the cost of the drug therapy, the dosage form of the particular drug and the strength of the preparation. Rest all the informations are more reliable in the non-commercial sources. Subscribe my channel to watch more pharmacology related video. Thank you.